Okay, thanks everyone for being here. Today I'm going to be talking about the Raspberry Pi, a little device by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, which the Raspberry Pi Foundation, as you can see on the papers there, is an educational charity, founded in 2009, I'd say around 2009, and they released their first model of the Raspberry Pi in 2012. Now, the Raspberry Pi, this amazing little device, is what's known as an embedded Linux computer. It doesn't have to always run Linux, but largely it runs Linux. So this device has very, very little, energy, waste or anything. Very little heat waste and no moving parts whatsoever. It's a very fun little device. Lots can be done with. Originally, it was invented for the purpose of teaching children computer programming. And because back in days of old, when we had, MS-DOS or something as the primary operating system, that was, how you got around. So, you learn by experience, learn by having to do. And so with the current side of things, there's none of that need. So this device, Raspberry Pi, was invented to provide that development platform. Kids can learn to do things such as program Python or make little gadgets, light up some LED lights, stuff like that. So I'll go over the history of the Raspberry Pi, the foundation, the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and go over the various models that have been released of the Pi. So right here, you've got from 2006, which was back before it was the Raspberry Pi Foundation. It was just some people who were just trying to invent a very alpha device. Definitely not ready for for the mass market or anything like that. This is a very, very alpha, very, very basic version of the Raspberry Pi. As you can see, it was all freely available. It was open source and everything, so they could look at the design, critique it, better it if they saw a design flaw, perhaps improve it. And yes, 2012 was their very first model, which I can't really see the text here from the side, so I'll read it out. It says, the initial sales commenced on 29th of February 2012. It says, the two web shops of the two licensed manufacturers selling the Raspberry Pi A in the UK sell out within minutes, according to 2 million pre-orders. That's just insane, really. And just later that September, they announced a new model already. They were going ahead, improving upon the design that they already came up with, seeing how they could better it, make a better product. Just the next year, just a year after that Raspberry Pi Model B was released, they announced 2 millionth sale. So they finally fulfilled those 2 million pre-orders. 2014, they upgraded the Model B that they had just released, and called it the B Plus. Same price as the original Model B, which is rather important. They can sell it for the same price that sell the original models. They try to keep a consistent price. They don't try to overcharge for it. They try to make it a very, very affordable device for children to afford. And perhaps third world countries can use these. They're very cheap and do amazing things with them. So just a few months later, they announced a revision of the original Model A, cheaper, even cheaper than the original price of $13. It's not $20. They can sell these things very, very cheaply. They can produce them very, very cheaply. Let's see. Now, the model that I have here with me today, which is this HDTV here, the Raspberry Pi 2, sort of based on the B plus, and it looks like a B plus. It's the same exact board layout as the B plus, except for some minor changes, such as the processor being different, and it's got more RAM, it's got a faster processor, and it's completely backwards compatible with everything else they released before. You know, like I don't even know how many of their old models are deprecated. I think they still sell the Model A, for example, the very first one they ever released, but it's it's rarely used for just like a person like me, for example. A company may use them for cheap, low power, little heat, embedded systems. So, and then the Model B Plus was decreased $25. The announcement of the Raspberry Pi 2 being released. Oh, and it's got a quad-core CPU, which is quite a bit of difference than the B Plus. Okay, so 2015, this last 2015 November, they released the Raspberry Pi Zero, smallest, the cheapest, $5, just $5 for this, and it's rather decent. It can do a whole lot. There's many capabilities with this. It is different in that see those pins, those holes at the very top, they don't have any. They don't have any of the holes. It's unpopulated is the term. You solder it yourself, or you connect it. Maybe you don't even solder, you just have wires that stick with them, but not willy-nilly, of course. You don't break something. So that's the thing. This is so cheap, you can't find this anywhere. This is completely sold out, and since November, day after day, it's just sold out, sold out, sold out, because it's so cheap. They can produce them. It's very little production cost. It's just this amazing thing that they can produce this cheap little device. Yeah, people can't get enough of it. This is out of stock everywhere. Now, the newest model, Raspberry Pi 3, released last month, February 2016. 1.2 gigahertz, 64-bit quad-core processor with built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I want one, personally. I would really love to have one of these for myself. It's in on all of these, you can overclock. So the processor speed that you see here, it's maybe a best case scenario, but to see that. The performance, but you can still overclock them. I've seen people overclock them to 1.5 gigahertz, for example, not without some instability. But this, the board types, the architecture, it's called ARM, A-R-M. It's basically the same type of board you would find in, say, a cell phone here. This is ARM 7, ARM version 7, and the Raspberry Pi 2, for example, is based on ARM 7. So I can do certain things such as run, a ported Android version of my Raspberry Pi. It's not great, it doesn't work as well as a phone would, but it's still rather amazing that I can have that on full HDTV and do whatever it is I would like to do. And as you can see here, they announced, same month, 8 million over the course of, 4 years since the first model, 10 years since they releasing the original alpha. But it's an amazing leap that we've gone from, this very, very small UK-based educational charity to the best-selling computer in the UK. So now we'll go over some of the specifications, the capabilities, and the uses, and stuff like if you run Android on it, for example. That's this is the board layout. You've got those on your papers there. So you can see it closer if you need to. So what is special about the Raspberry Pi, as well as all sort of small embedded systems such as the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is not the only product of its kind, but it's probably the most popular. In fact, it is the most popular. So the system on a chip is that important feature. It says you can run all of the important functions from the system on a chip. It runs GPU, CPU, USB controller, the RAM. Everything is compressed down in one tiny little package there. CPU, GPU, Broadcom. So they use these Broadcom system on a chip device. And there are some downsides, such as if you take a look at this 4X USB Ethernet controller box there. These are only really capable of Ethernet port. They're only really capable of 100 megabytes per second speed, whereas like my personal desktop is like a gigabit. These cool computers we use, it's a gigabit speed. The problem, the reason for that is these are all on the same board. USB 2.0, two USB 2.0, another two USB 2.0, and Ethernet. These are all on the same board, so it's a bottleneck, basically. It's not as fast as you could get. There are some other types of embedded little systems like that do have much faster Ethernet speeds. And honestly, in your experience, in your user experience, you often won't notice. So besides that, we have tons of different inputs and outputs, and ports that you can interface with. There's power, of course, and there's HDMI out. But we've got a camera port there for plugging in the camera. A display port for a little, a little display, just 4 inches, about 4 inches or so, and attach a battery to it, attach a display to it, and you have a little full Linux computer. And there at the top, we have one of the coolest pieces, the GPIO, or the general purpose input output. This is a template, shows what the GPIO means, what each individual pin does. This does not make any sense whatsoever to me. There's no system to it. I mean, you can, choose a more logical system, such as just naming them, one at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is madness, essentially. So it may serve as perhaps a little bit of a deterrent for some people, such as children, wanting to really tackle it, because you need to print one of these out. I print one of these out just so I can remember, okay, this does that, and that does this. And when people are telling me to go to the pin 19, I'm not trying to find, the physical pin 19. I'm trying to find 19 there on the bottom right corner. It gets confusing, but at the end, it's worth it, because you can do things such as this. This little light system on a breadboard here. It's a very simple setup. It just goes through the color scheme, and those look very complicated. But this ribbon here is called a breakout cable, which allows you to interface with the breadboards. There's no soldering involved. That's very good, because you don't want children around soldering machines too often, and you can do crazy cool things like this. Basically, the GPIO, you're telling it, hey, I want to be able to interface with this pin. I want it to, I either want to output information or input information. And then, if we go back to the template real quick, there's some ground wires here. Those don't do anything. Those are for grounding your cable, so you don't burn out your electronics. Got 3v3 power output and 5-volt power output. EEPROM, which as you can see, is for advanced users only. Use this. So basically, it's a program probably in Python or whatever else there is. You can use Bash script, I suppose. There's Bash is a programming language slash terminal interface in Linux. So you can tell the GPIO output power here, or instead of just being nothing, I want you to output some power and activate this LED. And eventually, with a bit of rigmarole, going through all those pins and everything, you have this. It's amazing. For this, I can't remember what these are called, just the strobe lights, just go through and this is just a little hobby thing. There's no purpose for it. I don't think any of us are really going to use this anytime soon, but it's just for the sake of fun, which is really the whole point. I'm all about that. Or something like this, really. This huge, complicated setup. I don't even know what this does. It's beyond me, for now anyway. And as you can see, it's just one pi. It's just one pi with GPIO. It's interfacing all of these outputs. It's just this confusing jumble of cables, but it does something. Somebody envisioned this. Or you can put a quadcopter example. There's Rome, and there's just one pi there again. And I've seen some videos of this in action. I don't know how versatile it is or usable, in fact. But wireless antenna top there to interface with it and everything. And it all works. And it's just one pi as opposed to a cluster. Now, if quadcopters aren't your speed, if that doesn't interest you, then we've got a robot with 6 legs here, made out of metal or anything. Yes, there's just one pi there, and this worked. You can control it wirelessly, and so that's an amazing thing that people have envisioned and brought about. So, if you don't like robots or anything, you can make like a little cluster of Raspberry Pis. You can take multiple Pis, combine them, work them together, and use them as a little low heat, low power embedded server, big server. So there's just 4 here. That's great. I should have done some back. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time. And all the Ethernet ports, all the power, it's all input, and you have this little server here. Now you can do whatever you want with this. They sort of distribute the processing needs and the RAM, the GPU needs across them. And so yeah, that is not a proprietary rack, by the way. It's just something DIY. So a person found it and took it out of the computer and repurposed it. So there's this. I don't know. Maybe you want to step it up. Maybe you want a little bit more power than before. So you go with something like this. And I've had nightmares about stuff like this. Really, just I don't even know what it is. A Christmas tree of technological terror. I don't know, something witty like that. And this is obviously mostly for display, I'd say, but just look at it. It's amazing. And well, after that, I'd like to take a bit hands-off of the presentation. Move a bit more over here to where I've got this set up. So I'd like to show you the Pi in action. Let's see. See the camera. There we go. It's a little bit absolutely horrible, purple image. There we go. Now we don't have to use the terminal. That is, the Raspberry Pi has the option for not even starting with the terminal. And angle this down slightly. There we go. We can't really read the text. And really, this is all just Linux stuff, really. It's letting you know, hey, we booted up, that we've initiated all the processes and everything, and if you really want to get into Linux, you can learn all about the boot process and everything. But I'm not going to go into that here. I could, but I don't want to bore you. So right here, the only little prompt I have, and you can see it, little blinking cursor is just the user prompt, saying, hey, we booted up, we have initiated everything, we're just waiting for your input. So this doesn't usually start on the terminal. You can set it to start on the terminal by default, but like I would prefer to go to something like a full desktop. There we go. Let's see, let me get this. Bear with me here, please. All right. So, let's see, a full desktop. You can't, that's an extreme blur, of course, but you can see that it's basically there. Everything. This is, the Raspbian OS. This is the OS that is not developed directly by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, but they, what's the term? They've, said, hey, this is being developed. Have at it. This is the one that we are forwarding and promoting. Enjoy. So it's basically, it is just Linux. It's based on Debian Linux, which is one of the oldest Linux distributions. You may have heard of Ubuntu. You ever looked into that? Ubuntu is based on Debian. This right here is just the Raspbian OS, which is very simple. It's got very, very low processing needs because it's pre-chosen all of the low memory usage, low processor usage modules of Linux desktops in general. So if I can see here, I'll have to peek over display here. With the Raspberry Pi, in fact, I don't know if any of you know the Python logo by on site, and it's incredibly blurry. Right here we've got the Python logos. This comes preloaded with Python, Python 2, Python 3. Python 3 is the default usually, but Python 2 sticks around for backwards compatibility. And so it comes preloaded with Python for a testing environment for kids to learn how to program on. And figure out how to get their little LEDs on their device, such as this breadboard that I have with me, and figure out how to get that to light up. And I say kids, I was doing this yesterday, so literally yesterday. So I say kids, I include myself. And then there's, I'm just going to leave it out for you because I can't really tell in text, but it's not just Python. There's Scratch, which is a sort of animation-based programming. You do all sorts of different things. I personally have not gotten into it yet myself, but I plan to, especially since it's recommended to be able to interface with all the products that the Raspberry Pi Foundation produces. So we've got Scratch, we've got Python, we've got, we've got a Java, IDE here called BlueJ. BlueJ, just the letter J, nice. A different Java IDE. We've got Wolfram. If any of you have heard of Wolfram Alpha, which is a sort of Wolfram himself. I know it was a name after a man who was invested in mathematics. And the Wolfram Alpha website is a really good website for just rendering mathematical, whatchamacallits. I'm not a mathy person. So, display is kind of rotating here. So, besides all that, what have we got? We've got, just the standard things. We've got a browser, we've got graphics, we've got Minecraft on here. Preloaded Minecraft Pi Edition, which is, comes with an interface for programming. So, you can program Minecraft if you want. It's all free, it's all pre-included. It's all open source as far as I'm aware. Now, it's not the full Minecraft, because Minecraft, it's just for testing, for having fun, going around and tinkering with things. So, besides the Minecraft, games. What we have, we've got Python games, we've got the standard Linux, tools, graphics. We've got a full LibreOffice installation here for managing our spreadsheets, presentations, Word documents, etc. I could very well have used this to demonstrate this presentation for you all. It all works. It's got lots of preloaded open source materials such as fonts and schemas, stuff like that. So this is a really, really cool, fully supported OS for Raspberry Pi. And you can always, we were at the terminal at the beginning. Let's see, where are we at? We were at the terminal at the beginning, but I have no idea what I've just opened. I think I've just opened Python. Let me just close out of this. But this is a good demonstration. You have the full Python IDE, if you so wish to program Python. And who wouldn't, honestly? So, what else? We started in the terminal, we've gone to a desktop. Let's say you want the terminal back. Well, unfortunately, my keyboard shortcuts don't work. What do we got? Accessories. Here we go. Got a full terminal app. You want to go back into, managing with the terminal. And I personally love messing with the terminal, especially the Linux terminal. I often prefer to just stay in the terminal. I don't always go to the full desktop. So what? There's all sorts of preloaded options here for, configuring the Raspberry Pi. Let's see, let's adjust that a little bit. I don't know if you all can interpret this, but we've got options just, changing the hosting of the device, the password, overclocking, for example. That's the thing that a lot of people are interested in, pushing the Pi to its limits and everything, and then regretting it immediately. But I'm very much trying not to go down that road. It's very tempting. You can add it to the global map of people who have purchased a Raspberry Pi. I have a nice little map showing where the most common usage is and whatnot. And now I have not entered myself into that because I'm lazy, but it's there for if you're interested in forwarding their statistics, I suppose. So this is not the default. I'm sorry. This is probably the most common Raspberry Pi operating system. There's tons more. Linux, is open source. You can take it, tinker with it, improve upon it, make something of your own. Gosh, I've lost. I don't even know off the top of my head how many Raspberry Pi operating systems I've seen. You can use it as just a full media center. My personal favorite operating system isn't even Raspbian. It's called Diet Pi, which comes preloaded with all sorts of features such as preloaded media center, preloaded better overclocking mechanisms. Like the default Raspbian overclocking is like 900 megahertz and 1,000 megahertz, whereas with Diet Pi it's like 1,200 megahertz. And then if you go into the configuration files and write in mechanically 1,600, you probably won't have a Pi for very long. But it is possible. Don't let me give you any ideas though. You can exit this. Yeah, there we go. So let me see. I think I can demonstrate very easily here. I don't know how much time I have left. So I've already shown you, sorts of devices that you can put together, huge clusters. I have another word for that, but I don't know. Let's see. I've used this personally as a media center, playing radio wirelessly, for example, lighting a single LED up. My first accomplishment. I'm not doing the full Christmas tree of death or whatever it was that we saw, but maybe one day. So I'm personally just a beginner, but there's tons of resources. That's the whole point. Is that this is an open platform. It's all open source. The whole material, all the software, all the documentation is free. As we saw with the very first Raspberry Pi, the very alpha 2006, you have all the schematics freely distributed and whatnot. People can make their own or design their own, and not as cheap as you get an actual Raspberry Pi. But I personally am very glad that there's this whole community. I'm glad that it's 8 million Pis and counting, because I have sort of the trust fall of working with technology, which is that tons of people, they all contribute and bring in their own ideas, bring in their own knowledge, bring in their own habits of tinkering, and then I don't do what they did and screw something up. And I have screwed many things up. So, I'm not sure what else I have here. Honestly, how much time do I have left? Well, I'm not sure what's going here. Unfortunately, our setup here doesn't make the easiest demonstration. But I will close, or wrap up, I suppose, with just hopefully inspiring you guys, I suppose, if you feel like being inspired. This very, it's very easy to get into. You saw the GPIO schematic. Don't let that deter you, really. It's, you just take a little step at a time, learn a new thing every day. That's what I do. And eventually make a Christmas tree of death, or maybe a bit optimistic, but you make a little cluster, a little server like this, and this is much more approachable. It doesn't even require the use of the GPIO, as far as I'm concerned. If you have a couple $100 to spend, about this, but having an open platform, as I'm all about that. This is open, all the documentation is there. It's been around for, some documentation that I read that's still relevant is 20, 30 years old. Linux documentation tends to stick around for a while. But it's all there, it's free to lead into. Not the Microsoft, but the documentation itself is free to lead into. And if anything's deterring you, I recommend you take a look and consider. Could I do this? And often find that yes, you can. And or you just want to use a little Linux desktop. That's great. It's also great because it's cheap. $35 for a Raspberry Pi 3. What all you need? A keyboard and display. Got the Wi-Fi built in. Got the Bluetooth built in for interfacing, like your phone or something. Got the Bluetooth. Got this amazing open platform. You can do so many things, and really, it's just your imagination is the limit, really. All right. I suppose. Thank you all for attending.